going on, everybody? It's Part of the Collector, and for this time, I'm not bringing you a new haul video because this is a new segment I've been working on with my good friend Greg Durrance here. It's called Part of the Collector's Collector's Edition. Well, that's the title we were.
Yeah, that's the working title.
We'll figure that out, But we wanted to try this out because we've been playing with this idea for a long time, even before we did our podcast and stuff like that. And the whole purpose of this segment is for me. I am the collector, and I get very curious to see what other people are into. Like, what's their passion? What do they collect? What are they into? And my good friend here, I actually offered to be the first person on this segment and to be the guinea pig to see how this would go. So
yeah, we came up with this idea, and we've been wanting to do it for a while. And I figured, why not just get our feet wet with our own collection? So I figured I would go first.
What are we? What is your collection? Well, I mean, obviously I know what it is, but
yeah.
You want to tell them what it is?
Well, I have a bunch of little collections. I don't have a massive collection of things, but there is one thing that's always stuck out for me throughout my whole life, and it's heavy metal music. And I've been collecting heavy metal music for a while, but a little disclaimer. So I have been collecting CDs for as long as I can remember.
I collect CDs too. People tell me.
I still buy CDs.
Stream it,
Yeah, most of these are new. I stream a lot more than I used to buy.
These are my vinyl. You know what I mean? Like, I like CDs. Man.
Yeah, exactly. But I had a huge collection of CDs, and I had a car that was a POS. And finally it just broke down. My car broke down. But any metalhead has a huge folder of CDs that they keep in their car. Anyone that listens to metal, I bet you have a huge CD, huge folder of CDs in your car.
Anybody that grew up in the 90s had that.
Yeah, I still had it too.
I got one in my room somewhere. It's got just.
But this was about like 10 years ago, and I couldn't get my car working. Finally just decided to scrap it. I called some guy like, hey, I got a car that doesn't work. Come pick it up. You can have it for $500. So the next day, he comes when I'm sleeping, and my mom just gives him the keys. Like, here you go, just take the car. Whatever. She didn't think to look in the car.
Maybe there's something in here.
Yeah, exactly. But I was stupid enough to go to bed and not think about taking all my stuff out. So the dude takes the car with all my CD. Every single CD that I've owned was in that car.
Wow.
Called him up. I'm like, hey, my stuff. I have some stuff in that car. He's like, man, it's gone. Like, there's no way to retrieve anything that's in that car.
Right.
I was like, fuck. So all my CDs were gone.
Or that guy has them.
Yeah, right. He was just a huge metalhead that decided, like, it's a pretty sweet collection.
Look at this fucking collection, man. It'll take me years to get this shit together.
So over the years, I've been trying to build up my collection, but it's so hard to buy CDs that I used to have, but also buy the new stuff that's coming out. I'm 33 years old, so I have other expenses. Like, I can't spend all my money on CDs like I used to back in my 20s.
Preach, brother, preach.
And plus, I have a huge movie collection that I like adding to. I like the recording, so I'm always buying recording equipment, so I can't...
Yeah, this man right here has the most legit studio setup. That's where we recorded our podcast. And, yeah, it's good. It's top of the line stuff.
I would say top of the line, but it gets the job done.
It does, and he does a very good job at it.
So I don't have as much money to devote to these bands as I used to, but if I come across an album that I absolutely love, I want to support that band, so I'll just buy their CD. So this is my little modest collection that I've tried to build back up.
Well, before we started recording, I just kind of took a look around to see like what I could see, and I'm going to be honest with you, about 90% of these bands I have never heard of. And,
yeah.
And that's when we started talking. I didn't want to talk about it all right then. I wanted to get some of it for footage, but apparently, to the unbeknownst to me, is I thought there was only one kind of metal. You got metal. But my friend here is letting me in on that there's plenty of subgenres in metal that I never heard about, and probably a lot of people at home have never heard about. So you want to get into some of them?
Yeah. So I noticed a lot of metalheads kind of have their genre that they're kind of devoted to. I'm kind of all over the place. I do have my genre that I'll get to later, but I like everything. Like, I have a little bit of everything here that I'm into. I just love metal, and I just love music in general. It just happens to fall on the metal genre side. So let's talk about what got it started. I always used to say, like, when I was about 14 years old, Mudvayne, I had the TV on in the living room on MTV. I was cleaning the house or something, and Mudvayne Dig came on.
Yeah.
First time I've ever heard anything like this in my life, or so I thought. I stop what I'm doing. I go in the living room and I just watch this whole video in amazement. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, I love this. Like, I really connected to it. So
I like Mudvayne.
yeah, Mudvayne's amazing. So I got more into metal. I'll admit, new metal at first, but that was my entry into metal. But before that, actually, my good friend Mick, you know Mick.
I do know Mick.
But he brought it up. He's like, Demon Knight was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I put it on repeat. I love that movie. But one thing I didn't pay attention to is the track list. Mm-hmm. They got Pantera, Ministry, Sepultura. Like, it's a hard soundtrack. And
fun fact, I have been to Pantera Strip Club.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
Great place.
Met Vinny.
Yeah, I did meet Vinny.
R.I.P.
Yeah. He died, dude, did he?
He died recently, yeah.
Damn. Losing a lot of legends lately, bro.
We really are.
Really have. Not just in music, acting too.
Yeah.
It's just shitty. Kobe.
But,
Nah, man, I loved Kobe Bryant. Not so much as a player, but just like you had to respect the guy's hustle. But anyways, yeah, all the different types of metal you were saying.
Yep. So I think that was my introduction into metal. It was like planted into my subconscious because of that soundtrack from Demon Knight, and then Dig from Mudvayne kind of like cemented it, and that's when I went on my like hustle to like listen to metal, as much metal as I can. First album.
Before you get into the different types, I gotta ask you, because as someone who doesn't have a lot of knowledge on it, I just listen to what I hear. Is there a certain criteria that you consider metal, or is it just anybody with live instruments can be metal? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like, would a Good Charlotte count as a metal group?
No, that's post-punk.
Right. Okay. Or like a Linkin Park.
Because I was gonna say like anything with a distorted guitar, but then you brought up Good Charlotte. It's like, nah, that's not metal. But there's a lot of bands though that
it is a form of rock, and that's why I think a lot of people don't understand heavy metal, and then you have rock and roll. Like, or is that two different things, or is that just
no? It's two different things, but there are blurred lines. I think I have a couple in here that blur those lines a little bit.
Right.
So every genre has their own like thing that makes them unique, and that's what breaks it up into the different subgenres. Right. So, like I said, I got into new metal, and you mentioned Linkin Park. They're taking the rap beats, DJing, and mixing it all together in a melting pot. Most, like 90% of it is trash, but there are some good stuff out, like good new metal bands out there.
Right.
For example, I brought this up. This is something that I bought years and years ago. It has all my favorite bands on it, like Megadeth, Dream Theater, Fear Factory, Nevermore, Life of Agony, Symphony X, but this is the reason I brought this up, is Dry Kill Logic. They're a new metal band from the early 2000s. That's probably my favorite out of all the new metal. So
I've never even heard of them.
They're pretty obscure, but they're fucking amazing.
I consider myself a rock fan, but it's mostly what's on 98 Rock, stuff like that.
Right, and then you have Bobaflex, which kind of blurs those lines between rock and metal. This is actually how I found out about them, is buying this. I found it in FYE. It was just sitting there, and I'm like, God, so many great bands in one concert. I had to buy it. But Bobaflex is one of those bands that kind of blur that line between rock and metal.
You're a big concert guy too, right? You going to concerts?
Not as much as I used to. Just because I don't have anyone to really go with, and scheduling, like they usually have the concert on the night I work, so I can't go as much. Yeah. But let's get into this.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Tell me about it.
Okay, so after Mudvayne Dig, this was my first love. I've rebought this CD a few times.
Now, Killswitch Engage, I've actually heard of them.
Yeah, most people have heard of Killswitch Engage, but this is a special era, is when Jesse Leach was the singer of the band, the original singer, before Howard Jones, which everyone knows Howard Jones in his era of Killswitch Engage. But since then, Jesse Leach has actually came back to the band. But for me, he hasn't captured the magic that was this album.
It's hard to do. A lot of people have that problem.
Yeah, so Killswitch Engage, Alive or Just Breathing was my first love metal album. I love this album so much.
Now, is this band still together? Do they still make music?
Yep.
Him, the original guy? Or
Jesse Leach, the new guy, or the original singer.
Old guy?
The new old guy, basically. Yeah, they're still putting out music and stuff. It's not this. This is metalcore, but it had a little bit of thrash or not thrash, hardcore mixed into it,
Mm.
and it just had a really, really unique sound
Right.
that I love about it. So I will forever buy it. If I lose this, I'll buy it again. So that's my first love into metal.
All right.
I was gonna do it by like my favorite bands throughout the years, but there's so much.
Give me one of the more obscure, like a true metalhead would only know this band.
Oh, a true metalhead would
Which
only know
obviously for me would be almost any of this, but for somebody that you know listens to metal, if they say they're a metalhead and you really believe it, like what band do they have to tell you that you're like, oh, okay, this guy's serious. He's not just talking out his butt.
You know, since you said weird, I'll pull this one out. Fucking Fintroll.
Fintroll. You have mentioned this band because that's how you used to rate the podcast. So yeah, I've heard of them. I don't think they're good, right? Like,
No, they're great. I love Fintroll.
Oh, that's right. That was a good one.
So Fintroll, they call themselves troll metal. They only sing about trolls, and they're a silly, silly band. But you wouldn't know about them unless you were...
Yeah, if you look at the album cover, you think like, okay, these guys are up to some...
Yeah, they're pretty hard, but then you listen to it, it's
yeah.
just silly, but they're fun.
Yeah.
It's just one of those bands that you just have
literally
fun.
all about trolls. Yeah. Like Troll 2 trolls or like cool
no,
trolls,
badass
or
trolls,
yeah.
like trolls that'll kill you and
like
rip you
Lord of the
apart.
Rings type shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're a fun. That's an obscure band. Like if you're into metal, you know Troll, but Fintroll, but most people probably don't even know.
Okay.
So let's get into the different genres.
Yeah, show me some of these different genres.
The thing that sucks is the first love that I got into was, it went from nu metal to metalcore, and then I got into melodic metal. But I lost most of my melodic metal CDs, and I just haven't really bought them again.
You're gonna have to explain that to me. Melodic metal.
Melodic death metal.
Melodic death metal.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound melodic. Sounds like it should have a more hardcore name for that.
Well, that's what I love about melodic death metal is it takes the absolute visceral, punishing versions of death metal, but put some melodies to it and make it nice.
Sounds like a flamethrower that you just called a lighter. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's how it sounds when you say melodic death metal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like one of those propane lighters.
What's the name of this man?
Calma.
Calma?
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people attribute melodic death metal to like At the Gates and Old In Flames, which I absolutely love. But this is my favorite band. Calma is my favorite melodic death metal band. This is the one band that they have like a raw sound to them.
Right.
Their melodies are amazing. They still have those guttural growls. Like, I love them so much.
And here's my biggest thing I've always said about more hardcore. Because now that I've gotten older, I realize that there are different types of metal, not necessarily as vast as I thought, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But do you understand the growling?
It
Are they
depends.
actual lyrics, or is it just him like taking a shit and they're recording it? Like, how does it work? Like,
Some
'cause I had a buddy, he was like, I know what they're saying, and I'm like, I don't, like, at all.
So there's two camps. There's some guys that can sing, that can growl, and you can really understand what they're saying. And then there's other ones where you got to pull out the lyric book. You're like, I don't know what you're saying. But one thing that I did notice is if you take out a lyric book and read it while they're growling, you kind of get the ear for it.
Mm-hmm.
So after a while, you start to develop that that you can listen to them and know what they're saying
You kind of hear
easily.
it on a different level.
Exactly.
Got you.
But for me, metal has not been about lyrics. I'm not a lyric person. Like, you can come to me about the most amazing lyrics. I'm like, that's cool, but what does everything else sound like?
It's about the music.
It's about the instruments, and I think of vocals as an instrument. Like, however the dude's singing is just a part of the entire picture.
Okay.
So it really plays a big part. So I don't really care what they're singing about. You could be singing about puppies and kittens, but if you sound awesome doing it, I'll listen to it.
Right.
So Calma was the melodic death metal genre that I got into. They were my number one band. But after that, another genre. The thing about metal heads I've noticed is we all have eras. Like, we find a genre, we listen to everything in that genre that we can, and then we kind of scoot to another subgenre of metal, listen to everything in there, and that's kind of how our life goes throughout our life. Is we have like a different love for each genre in a different part in our life. So the one after melodic death metal is technical death metal. So this is Psychroptic Scepter of the Ancients. One of my all-time...
That's the entire band's name?
No, Psychroptic
Oh,
is the name.
okay.
The name of the album is Scepter of the Ancients.
I was about to say, there's got to be an abbreviation for that, like SOAD, something like that. Or
Right.
Like, okay, gotcha.
So, I don't know why I got into technical death metal, but I always thought, when I was younger, like, whoever played the fastest, whoever was the most technical, whoever was the best at playing their instruments were the best bands.
So you're saying the technical aspect, that's like, makes them the more pure towards the original metal? Or is it like...
I guess
when you say technical, it's just like they're that into like the music.
Yeah,
right?
they're showing off their musical chops.
Gotcha.
They're great at playing guitar and they want to show it off.
A lot of solos.
Yeah, it's basically a bunch of like touchdown dances. Like,
right.
This is how awesome I am kind of thing.
So there's grandstanding in metal. That's awesome. Bro. Everybody loves a good end zone, Nick.
So I guess that's why I got into technical death metal, but it's kind of always stuck with me just because I love the sound. Eventually, like some genres, some subgenres of metal, you start to notice they become carbon copies. Like a new band comes out, but it's basically a carbon copy of the band that came out before. So
Not doing anything new.
yeah, you're not doing anything new. You're just rehashing old things. So I think that's why I get bored with genres. I kind of find those bands that have done it, you know, the original pioneers or whatever,
Right.
or somebody that's doing something new with it.
Trying to give it a little twist,
Right.
Put a new spin on it.
Yeah, like Rivers of Nile recently came out with an album and they have saxophones in it. Like, you don't think of metal and saxophones, but they fucking pull it off and it's awesome. So
Another fun fact, part of the collector can play saxophone.
can you really?
I mean, I haven't done it in like 12 years, but I think I probably...
I'm sure you could pick it up and do it like...
Yeah, I'd
no
probably
time.
give you hot cross buns or something. You know, I could probably do that.
So that's Psychroptic, and I have a few technical death metal bands here. Spawn of Possession. Don't really have much to say, just kind of showing off my technical death metal. They're awesome. If you like technical death metal, check them out.
Now, do they sing too? Or is it just music? Okay.
I don't think I have a lot of instrumental albums. Most of my stuff, they're singing in it.
So even the technical scene, like he's trying to hit every octave, or he's just showing off like a lot of bravado when he sings?
This one, Psychroptic, this dude has the most unique vocals I've ever heard in my life. Like, I don't want to impersonate it, but it's very, very unique. He does this like scratchy scream that I haven't heard from anybody else. So he's really like just showing off his vocal range.
Right.
This guy mostly does growls and stuff, but it's mostly the drums and the guitars just playing off each other, almost like jazz.
Okay.
You know how jazz is just people showing off. That's
Just
kind of
jamming.
what. Yeah. So that's Spawn of Possession. I don't have anything more to say about them, but we do come to my next favorite band of all time, Fallujah.
Fallujah. Like Iraq?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, I don't have the CD anymore. I haven't rebought it, but the Faceless came out with an album called Planetary Duality. I fell in love with this album. It technical death metal, but it had an atmospheric sound to it, so it's atmospheric technical death metal. And I love the sound, but the CD is kind of short, and the stuff they came out with after that doesn't really capture that sound anymore. But then I came across Fallujah's Harvest Womb, which takes that sound and expands on it, and they do their own thing with it. And it's one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time. I've bought this 2 or 3 times because I love it so much.
Played it out, huh?
Played it out.
Wow.
Well, one of them, it was lost in the mishap. I rebought it. I think I lost it, rebought it.
Right.
I will forever buy this until I die.
Right.
And then their follow-up album, which is freaking amazing.
I like that cover. That's cool.
The Flesh Prevails. Oh yeah, I have the flag in my room, which I love. I just love the artwork too.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah.
But it's one of those bands, like, they got a new singer, just not the same, so
Just paying the bills at this point.
moment in time. But that's technical death metal.
Technical death metal.
So where do we go from there? I guess we'll go to some
Give me somebody that maybe a more average fan would know.
average fan.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's where I was going with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we got Iron Maiden. I did this one as kind of like a joke because when we were doing the podcast, you told me to come up with some rating system or whatever, and I'm like, fine. And then I put Iron Maiden as number 1. They're not like my favorite band of all time, but I feel they are the best band because they've been the most consistent. I think Me personally, I don't think they put out a bad album.
I mean, their longevity speaks for itself because I know they've been making music for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been seeing Iron Maiden covers and shirts for forever.
Yeah, most people, of Iron Maiden, but I don't know.
I honestly couldn't tell you one song of theirs.
But you know who they are.
I know who they are, yeah. Great marketers.
So I put Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, because it's my favorite album, which is, their most popular, but whatever.
And they're British.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. They're British.
New wave British heavy metal.
Are they older guys? They gotta be older guys.
Old as
right?
hell.
Yeah,
they're one of the originals.
Right, they could have been like in their. I didn't know if maybe their sons had taken over.
Yeah, so.
Change band people.
I mean, they've had some lineup changes, but I still like them.
They've never broken up. They've just kept it moving.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, they're still making music.
Gotcha.
So, I guess we'll hop back a little bit because I have this and I just saw it. Unearth. Unearth is one of those bands like Killswitch Engage that I just fell in love with. They're metalcore, but these dudes are consistent as hell. Mm-hmm. You can go through the discography and just listen to it all the way through, and even though they're not changing, they are changing their sound.
They're staying in their lane, but
yeah,
they're
exactly.
Keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting.
Exactly. These dudes, like, I forget about Unearth for some reason, and then I put one of their albums on, and I'm like, fuck, these guys are good. So Unearth is worth mentioning. I love everything they've ever put out.
Okay.
So there's some Unearth for you. Let me move that so it's not blocking our. Let's jump over to. I guess you would call Symphony X, epic metal.
Symphony X. That sounds crazy. That's a crazy name.
Yeah, I mean it is what it is. It is what the name says.
Like
they use symphonic metal, epic metal. They talk about. They mostly sing about Greek mythology and stuff like that, but the musicianship, like Michael Romeo is one of the best guitarists you'll ever listen to in your life, and like he's on that live CD and he plays everything perfect, like he does on the CD. So the dude, everybody in this band is freaking amazing, but they just use these. The guy has soaring vocals, which you can understand. The fucking keyboardist makes these like epic orchestra. They're just amazing. I love Symphony X. They're old too. They've been around since.
I feel like I've heard that name somewhere before.
Probably, but they've been around forever. And they don't get enough love in my opinion. I don't hear people talking about Symphony X that much. Like, and I don't know why.
Right.
Maybe I'm just not hanging out with the right people.
Maybe.
Speaking of, what do you call it? Symphonic metal, I guess you could say.
Power metal. Organs and shit too?
Yeah, symphonic metal, they always have a keyboardist that has these like epic orchestras behind the metal.
Okay.
So that's really where they get the name from. But they're still usually pretty heavy. I used to be really big into Iced Earth. I don't have any of their CDs because I haven't rebought them. But I used to have this Iced Earth shirt, and the guys I work with are like, hey, you like Iced Earth? You should check out Sonata Arctica. And I was like, okay, I'll check them out. These guys were a huge influence in my music taste in my early days.
Now, is this like frozen metal?
Frozen metal?
Well, because you said Iced Earth, and then now this was something
Sonata
with
Arctica.
I don't know if maybe it was like a theme or something.
No, mostly just like symphonic metal.
Yeah, they play all their sets on icebergs. It's crazy, dude.
I mean, they cool. No, that's black metal.
Oh, that good.
I actually don't have any black metal because I'm not a huge black metal guy. Sorry, but
that's the people from like Norway and
yes,
like okay.
The corpse paint.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
But everything is based in ice, snow, just dreariness.
Right.
But no, these guys, they're just epic symphonic metal. To be honest, their later stuff isn't as good as I want it to be. Their earlier stuff is really where it's at for me. Right. So I bought this one to listen to, and it doesn't capture it like it used to. So, oh well. But these guys have a huge part of my metal history. Another funny one. So, Black Dahlia Murder. Their first album, I kind of hated. I hated Black Dahlia Murder when they first came out. The sound just was like nails on a chalkboard to me. Did not sound good.
I remember the movie.
Yeah.
I remember.
But over the years, they've kind of grown on me, and I really like them. They've been lumped in with metalcore, but I think they've kind of gotten away from that because metalcore can be like a controversial like genre to be labeled as. It's like, oh, you're not as good as real metal kind of thing. But I feel like these guys are crazy talented, and I own 2 of their CDs, and I used to hate them, so obviously they're doing something right.
So those are different CDs?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like their artwork too, that each CD kind of has a different color theme to it. I like it.
That's why I thought it was like maybe a double disc or something.
No, they just do each color. It's pretty cool. So I just thought it was funny to pull those out, like a band that I used to hate. Now that I own 2 of their albums, like
kind of like Sublime.
We'll get to Sublime.
It's a huge Sublime fan, everybody.
Yeah. So anything else you want to know about?
Actually, I do have a question, and it made me think of it when we started talking about the show Metalocalypse.
Right.
First of all, is that a thing with metalheads? Do they like that show, or is it like, look at these people trying to, like, you know what I mean? Like, are they trying to emulate how we are, you know, or is it like...
The consensus is...
Obviously not the crazy off-the-rails stuff that the band's doing in the show, but like...
Right.
I actually heard it is a real band that does the music on the show, though.
It's mostly one guy.
Really?
Yeah, but he goes on tour with a band and plays the stuff.
Okay.
Consensus is from people that I've talked to love Metalocalypse. The music is legit.
Right.
It's good metal, solid metal. And it's just funny because even if... because you're into trap music...
Right.
Let's say somebody made a show about trap music, but like took it to the extreme about how silly trap music is. If you would still like it because it's like, that's how we kind of are, but it's like blown up. That's kind of how like Metalocalypse is. It's like
they're just over exaggerating.
Right. This is like
fun of it.
Yeah. This is what we would want to be if we were like taking all this seriously. I don't know. That's how I view Metalocalypse. Is just
it's more satirical than anything.
Yeah, but we find. Most of metalheads I've noticed found it funny, and the music is legit. I've listened to Metalocalypse on a regular basis.
Well, I've watched a couple of the episodes, and it was funny. Like, you know, I mean, obviously there were some jokes I didn't get because I'm not into metal like
right.
that. But, you know, there was parts that I could see what would draw people to it. But I always wondered that, like, because when they sing on the show, I'm like, I wonder if metalheads really like this, or they're just like these fucking posers. You know what I mean? Like, you wonder.
Well, I think the thing is it's not taking itself seriously. Like, it's not trying to be, like, legit hard metal, like look how cool we are. It's like making fun of it. So
gotcha.
But I've heard a lot of people listen to metal or have watched the show Metalocalypse, and it's actually gotten them into the metal genre. So it's a good gateway into the genre.
It doesn't come on anymore, does it?
Nah.
I didn't think so.
But he does. I can't think of the name, but he has a legit actual band, Galactica. I'm shit with names. That's why I don't mention any of the band names, because I can't keep up with people's names. But check the guys out. His actual band, great band. Even though I can't think of the fucking name.
Yeah, I have to do some research on that. But yeah, I always wondered that because, like, you know, that was a big show for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people watched it, so I always it was something I was curious
about.
Metalheads
love it. We love it.
You'd be the guy to come talk to about it?
No.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a album cover right here, and the name on it. I'm hoping I'm just not seeing it right, but like, what is this all about?
The red one?
Yeah, that one.
I pulled this out because it's my wife's favorite band.
Your wife's favorite band?
Just name alone, she loves this band just because of their name, Dying Fetus.
I was hoping it was 2 E's. Wow, that is a rough name. That's the band's name. That's not the album. That's the band's name.
This is the band's name. The name of the album is Reign Supreme, which is my favorite album they've ever put out.
The only thing that would throw me off more than that band's title was if they made, like, happy music. Like, you didn't even know. You know what I mean?
You know how fucking hard they are? They used to have a different logo for their name, but they're like, you know what? We're so fucking heavy. We can just put fucking impact font, and we're still that fucking heavy. That we can just use basic-ass font for our name.
So are these guys, like, they're like one of the hardest at it? Like
they're just crazy death metal. They teeter on technical death metal, but they're just brutal as fuck. Yeah. Like their album cover basically describes how they would sound.
Right.
Just heavy.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool looking.
But no, I bought the CD at like FYE and I picked it up. My wife's like, Dying Fetus. My wife's not into metal at all. So that's why
names
it's funny.
like that, I can't imagine why.
So that's why I had to pull this one out for my wife. It's a shout out to her because Dying Fetus. So anytime I talk about metal,
I just can't imagine seeing that on like a marquee somewhere. Like,
Dying Fetus.
What are these people playing? Yeah. You know, but that's different. That's
I love me
definitely
some Dying Fetus.
And they're still in the technical metal, or
I would put them in death metal, but they have some technical aspects because they're just that crazy with their instruments. But like technical death metal has like a certain sound to it, and they don't quite fit into that camp. So that's why I say they're just death metal with some technical.
Well, I noticed it was like one of the only ones by itself. So
yeah,
I knew it had to be something.
Yeah, my wife. Speaking of by themselves, funeral death metal. This band is Lost. I can thank my friend Sean for getting me into this band. He's like, this pales in comparison to his collection. This dude has been a metalhead through and through. I'm just giving him a shout out because he's one of the biggest. I told him one time, I'm like, you make me feel like I'm not a metalhead because you're that hardcore.
Yeah, I've been around people.
So that's why I was like hesitant about doing this because my collection isn't as impressive as some people like his. But speaking of, he gave me this recommendation. I was into funeral doom metal in general, and I'm asking him, I'm like, do you know any good doom metal bands that I probably haven't heard of? And he's like, I got one for you, Lost. So funeral doom, slow atmosphere, just it's exactly what the name. They talk about death a lot.
Right.
So it's just...
Well, with the name funeral metal, that kind of gives you a hint.
Exactly. Yeah. But this is all about just feeling. Like, they're playing really slow. They're not super technical.
Singing their pain.
They're just... It's all about how it's making you feel, and I love it. It's great. Lost. If you're into, like, doom metal, get into funeral doom. It's a lot slower, but Lost is, like, top tier.
Doom metal, what is that now?
Doom metal has branched off into a few subgenres of itself, but doom metal is basically slow playing, low tuning. That's where you tune the guitar lower, so it's like a heavier sound to it, and it's more of a feeling than it is anything. And I actually have a tattoo dedicated to stoner doom metal, which is another break off of that. Like you have funeral doom.
I feel like we should have a chart or something back here, right?
There are charts online.
That's insane.
Yeah, there's so many break-offs, and we haven't even, like, scratched the surface. But I was going to leave that till later, but since we're on the topic, I got the tattoo because let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
So I found in a movie called Black Snake Moan.
Right.
You know of it.
It's
Samuel Jackson. And we all know about blues music. Like if I say blues music, you kind of get a picture in your head, what it looks like, what it sounds like. I never really delved into it for whatever reason. I was too busy listening to metal. I watched this movie, and blues was like, he's singing the blues, and he's playing that guitar, that jangly...
Sam Jackson has always been talented, but he took it to another level.
He did.
I didn't know he had that in him.
Right.
He can actually sing.
He can.
And he played that guitar.
Yep.
He did a good job.
Great
job.
The tone of that guitar, the jangly strings, the fuzz, like, it hit me like nothing has hit me. It's kind of like the first time I listened to metal. Right. It was the same thing when I heard that. I'm like, I need more of that in my life. Right. So I'm like, oh, I like blues a lot more than I thought I did. So I started looking for heavier stuff, like, or more fuzzy guitars and stuff like that. And I came across Gary Clark Jr., which is an amazing blues artist, one of our newest upcoming blues artists, and I love his guitar sound. He has some of the best guitar tones I've ever heard. But I was itching for something more. I'm just like, I want something heavier, but with that fuzz. And I kind of stumbled into stoner metal, more specifically stoner doom metal. And we'll talk about the pioneers, and I'll be like castorized if I don't put this up. Obviously it's Black Sabbath, but specifically Masters of Reality. They're the ones that kind of developed the sound originally of stoner doom metal, just slow playing, riffs for days.
Hang on, you're gonna tell me these guys sing more than Iron Man? Yeah. I knew you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, their first 4 albums are just like masterpieces. And
now,
but
was Ozzy the singer for all those? No. Oh wow, I thought he dipped out early to do his own thing.
No, I think he did 5 or 6 albums, and then Dio came in and did his album.
I love Dio.
Yeah, Dio was amazing. He brought that band to a whole new level.
R.I.P. man. Dio
Right.
was
That's another legend we've lost recently.
My father loves Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, as he should.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
So I can't talk about stoner doom metal without mentioning this album in particular. So Masters of Reality is like cornerstone, but then it kind of evolves from there. And one of the first bands that I got into that really made me appreciate the genre of stoner metal is Electric Wizard Dope Throne. This fucking album, Dope Throne. Look, it's a wizard smoking a bomb.
Wow.
So that's where the stoner.
That should definitely be on a shirt or something.
I want to get this tattooed on me.
Really?
Legit want to get this tattooed
you know
on
who to call.
So, Electric Wizard Dope Throne was my first stoner doom album, and it blew me the fuck away. Fuzzy guitars, slow riffing, just in your face. It punches you in the face with its fucking sound.
Right.
It's just a wall of amazing fuzz. And I became obsessed with this sound, and I wanted more of it. And this was the birth of it. This is quintessential. If you want to get into stoner doom, this is the album to listen to. After that, we have another album, and you'll get a kick out of this. This is Sleep, Dope Smoker.
That's the album, Dope Smoker?
Yep. I want to get a Weedian. That's what they're called, Weedians. I want to get a Weedian tattooed on my arm right here. Like,
that sounds like a Wiz Khalifa album.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you'll love this. The supposed rumor behind this album. It's not confirmed or anything. So, Sleep record label gave them $70,000 to record an album.
Mm-hmm.
They spent all of it on weed and recorded one long 70-minute song instead.
Nice.
And put it on an album. They got dropped from the label because of it. This is all rumored speculation, but it's why this album is so popular.
Are they newer or are they an older band?
Old band.
They're an old band?
R.I.P. Or no, he's not dead yet, but Matt Pike. Like, I love that guy. He's the...
Would they be kind of like a Grateful Dead type of situation, or is it just harder version of it?
No. It's. I would put them as like psychedelic.
Right, that's why I said Grateful Dead.
Yeah, so this is really like drone music. They're playing like one riff over and over for like 70 minutes. It's all about escaping your own mind, just almost like meditation music. But it has that fuzzy, heavy guitar.
Right.
It's fucking amazing. I love it. It's a quintessential. After you listen to Electric Wizard, listen to Sleep, Dope Smoker.
Gotcha.
I delved deeper into stoner metal, and I hate to say, I kind of overlooked this pioneer band, but Caius, Welcome to Sky Valley. They're the original pioneers. They're the ones that blur that line between rock and metal. Some people are like, oh, it's just rock, but they're heavy enough to be called metal, so... But regardless, they're fucking amazing. They take that fuzzy...
Now, would you say stoner metal would be like one of your favorite subgenres?
I got a tattoo of stoner metal, and I haven't got a tattoo of any other genre, so I would say that's safe to say. Stoner metal is probably my favorite. Mostly because... I love the fuzzy guitar, like just guitar tones I'm obsessed with.
Now, another thing I feel like people get like metal gets a bad rap is people, because of the harshness of the music and sometimes the lyrics, people think that it's all about negative. Are there any metal bands that sing about like positive things? It just doesn't sound like it, or... You know what I mean? Like, is it all doom and gloom, or is there anybody that's like, hey, man, sun's outside today, you know? Like, but maybe they say it a little different. You know?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the genre you get into. Like, stoner metal, usually they sing about, like, smoking weed or just, like, the psychedelics and stuff like that. They're singing about weird, off-the-wall shit. Then, like, most metal don't sing about, like, Satan and stuff unless you get into black metal and death metal. They sing about, you know, mutilating people, but it's all just for fun. It all depends on what genre you get into. Like, for example, Fit for an Autopsy is a metalcore band, but I think they brought something new to the table. This album in recent years, like, some people may find it boring, but it's fucking great. But they do sing about the destruction of the earth, how humans are just fucking destroying this beautiful planet.
Kind of like Captain Planet on steroids, huh?
Yeah, they even called the album The Great Collapse. Like, but it's not about death or anything. It's just the death of the planet because we're killing it. Yeah. But that's the thing is I don't really pay attention to lyrics all too much. So
Could be about anything.
Yeah, it could be about anything, and I wouldn't be into it. But these guys in particular, I listen to their lyrics, and they're fucking incredible.
That's the
Caius,
musician in you. You're always listening for that.
yeah, I'm listening to the instruments more than I am listening to the lyrics, but that's just my personal preference.
Yeah.
You know, Caius, these guys were the original pioneers after Black Sabbath, early 90s. So they really brought it to the table. One of my favorite bands in recent years is Bong Ripper. These guys don't really sing in their music. It's all instrumental, so...
I thought you were going to say it was all like bong hits.
There's some in there.
Is there?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the stoner bands, they have like bong rips in the music. It's pretty
Nice.
cool.
You know where they got that from?
Yeah?
Sublime.
Alright guys, the video's over.
God loves Sublime. Like, I just can't emphasize that enough.
Well,
For the people at
we'll
home.
get to that. Like, I don't know why. So, Bong Ripper is my favorite band right now of all time. They're doom stoner. It's more about the feeling than it is the music. Not super technical, just heavy riffs for days.
Oh, and another thing, because this is your collection, and obviously it's not all of it.
No.
What percentage of your CD collection would you say this is?
So it's kind of sad. This is probably at least like half, if not a little less than half.
Right.
And that's because of streaming. Like, I have Spotify Premium.
Right.
So I can listen to anything whenever I want, and that's kind of taken a hampering on my collection. So if I find an album that I'm really obsessed with, I'll buy it. But if it's like something I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool.
Just background noise type of deal.
Yeah, I probably won't buy it, but then again, I don't have the money to put into...
Now, some of these bands being lesser known, unless you are into the metal culture, they have bands like that on Spotify and Pandora and stuff
They
like that.
started putting a lot more on there. Like, there's one band in particular, like, it is black metal, MGLA. They're really obscure. And they started putting them on Spotify. They started putting their music on Spotify. So they're starting to get the more obscure bands on Spotify, which is nice.
Yeah, because I wondered about that, you know.
But at the same time, this is recent. This kind of like moots what I was about to say. But acid bath, sludge metal, they sing about, I mean, look at the cover. That's what they sing about.
Isn't that like a John Wayne Gacy painting or something?
Yeah.
I thought I recognized that. That's creepy as shit.
So they sing about murder and shit like that, but it's fucking incredible.
Bring the kids, huh?
Musicianship on this album is crazy, and it's just raw music. But for the longest time, their album was not on Spotify, so I had to go and buy this just so I could listen to it, and well, I wanted to have it. So there are those times when you get albums that just aren't on Spotify. So that kind of sucks. But lately, it's rare. The Rotten Records started putting their stuff on Spotify, so good on them. Yeah, Acid Bath is on Spotify now. If you haven't listened to them, do it.
If the album cover doesn't scare you away, give it a listen.
Yeah, but sludge metal is kind of like kissing cousins with stoner metal. It's more of like a punk side. Still has like kind of fuzzy guitars, but more punk than it is, just stoner metal. Stoner metal is about like groovy riffs. So since we're talking about sludge, I guess we'll talk about a couple more. Melvins, you ever heard about them?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. It's one of those bands I can't judge how popular they are, because like in the metal community, everyone knows who Melvins
Well, it's
is.
such a normal, you know what I mean? Like compared to some of these other band names.
Yeah, it's a very
you know
common name, I guess
you
you could say.
It's one of those things like, oh, I might have heard that before or not, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, unless you knew what it was.
Yeah, Melvins is great. I love Melvins. I didn't feel right not taking this one out because it's just quintessential, just sludge.
Now, what makes a sludge metal? Like just raw? Like
Yeah, raw.
There's no fine tuning shit. They're just letting it go.
It's just raw playing. It's that punk element side to it. Just and heaviness too. Like they down tune their guitars and just go to town. But it's mostly just heavy punk. I guess you could call sludge. Just really, really heavy punk metal.
I was just about to ask you like what separates punk rock from heavy metal, because to the average ear, like I said again, I'm just talking about this as strictly as somebody on the outside. some punk music in my mind can be misconstrued to maybe it could be some form of metal,
right?
Just because of.
I read a comment online that kind of like perfectly describes like metal. It's how much you turn up the gain. Okay. So punk would be lower side on the gain knob, and then you get into metal, you turn that gain, you get that distortion, and vocals like punk, they do a lot of
screaming.
I wouldn't say screaming. I would be like yelling. But metal, they do a lot of growls, high pitched screams, and stuff like that. So it's just like audibly aesthetic that makes it metal from punk, and also like timing. Like when I hear a punk band, it's the punk timing. I don't know the technical term for it, but it's rhythmically off.
Right.
But that's what they're going
it's
for.
It's meant to be that way.
Exactly.
Right?
Like if they're not on perfect time, that's kind of like their point.
The metal's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, they're very like structured.
Right.
It can be.
Okay.
But most of the time, it's very, very structured.
So you're saying this type of metal kind of stays away from the structure. They like to kind of break out the box every now and then.
Well, technical death metal, they change it up. Like they break up that structure a lot.
See, that would make me think it would be the opposite, because technical, that makes me think of like 1, 2, 3, like by the book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Nah, technical.
Even the names take you for take you for a turn. You know.
Some more sludge metal. I hate God.
That's
Just
that's
fucking,
a name.
Just fucking brutal sludge.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like top tier sludge. I don't have a lot to say with them, but I figured I was bringing out my sludge collection. I can't not talk about I Hate God because this album's fucking incredible. Now, if you want to listen to like the one band that kind of blurs the line between sludge and stoner metal is Conan. Conan is one of the heaviest bands you'll ever listen to. They're just straight wall of noise. Just have the fuzzy guitars, and this dude's vocals are one of the most unique vocals. He sounds like he's in the middle of battle, and he's just screaming.
Like straight war cry.
Yeah, there you go, war cry music. Mm. But it's just heavy, turned up to 11 on the distortion and fuzz.
Shit to riot to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is shit you hack your enemies up to.
Damn. With a name like that, no, that was the one before, Conan. They didn't get sued for that? Because I guess they left the Barbarian off?
I guess. They've had the name for years, and they're still rocking it, so.
Because I was like, maybe they spell it different. It was the same shit?
Same shit.
Yeah. You got one more sludge, didn't you?
It's stoner, sludge, groove metal. So this is the singer from Pantera. This is his, like, after Pantera split up.
Phil, what's his name?
Samos.
Okay.
I'm not saying it right, but it's around there.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
This is the
that
band.
guy's got a crazy voice too.
He does, and this is another one that starts it off with a bong hit.
Does he sing the same, or does he kind of change up how he's delivering the lyrics?
It's kind of the same. It's not as like
when you hear it, you go, "Oh, that's the guy from Pantera."
You know,
I don't. When I listen to Hell Yeah, I'm like, that's old boy from Mudvayne.
Right.
I mean, you just tell.
Yeah, he has a very distinct voice, and you probably will be like, oh, that's the guy from Pantera. But he changes it up enough that it fits in with this band that you're not like, man, I wish I was listening to Pantera instead.
Yeah. But
it's just stoner, sludge, groove metal. Like, to me, this is just groove metal, like Pantera and, that kind of genre. Groove metal is what the name entails. Just a good groove. Something that just gets you fucking in the mood.
Right.
So, it's another sludge album. Oh, and speaking of I was obsessed with groove metal for like a whole year. And I was listening to Pantera and then Throwdown. Fucking Throwdown is shit that this is what I listen to when I go to the gym.
Right.
I've listened to this album on repeat at the gym constantly. Throwdown.
To the average person, if they heard it, they'd be like, whoa. That's probably the most hardcore thing they've ever heard.
That probably, but...
That was the biggest thing I took from everything, just looking at all the, so many different subgenres of music that I would have had no idea even existed if we did not talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it makes you think, wow, man, you think that, because I like to consider myself I like different types of music, I like rap, I like rock, I like, R&B, whatever I'm in the mood for at the time.
Right.
Even country now and then, very, very rarely, but every now and then.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy because...
That's what I love about it is you're not bored in the metal genre. Like if you get suckered into it, or not
Right.
suckered into it, but if you get sucked into it in a certain genre,
You go down the rabbit hole.
you
huh?
go down the rabbit hole. And I've been down this rabbit hole for 20 years now, and I still haven't listened to everything. I'm still finding new shit left and right.
It's yeah.
I love it so much, and that's what like drew me to it. I like to nerd out on metal music, so.
Well, the biggest thing I like about my collection, and as you can tell through my hauls, you've probably seen, is the passion. You know, like how much does this person really, and you could tell you didn't just buy these just to have. Like you look at them and you're like, wow, that like you know you can really listen to that band. You really absorb that music.
Right.
You know, and like just the sheer number of albums, like you could tell this is a passion of yours. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
And
A lot
that's
of
why I
these.
wanted to do this, because I want to find what people are passionate about.
Right. So a lot of these, I've kind of ran through the big, so we'll just do a quick run through of like the rest of these that I have.
Sure.
After the Burial, I don't even know how to label these guys. You could say like genty, metalcore, deathcore. I don't know. They're great. I've listened to them. And then speaking of just wall of sound, Nails. That's the name of the band, just Nails. And that's what it is. It's like you're getting hammered in the face with a bunch of nails.
What would you consider 9-inch nails?
Industrial for sure.
Industrial.
Industrial metal. It's like you take the 80s like synths, and you kind of put them to metal. That's industrial.
Right.
So 9-inch
What
nails.
about Maryland?
Industrial. Well, goth rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Manson goes pretty hard sometimes too.
He can have some heavy stuff. Like I've heard a couple of Manson songs where I'm like, that shit goes actually pretty heavy. But he's goth / industrial metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy.
He's very, very interesting.
I'm not a huge fan of his music, but I've watched interviews because he's very intelligent.
Yeah. Very eclectic guy.
Yeah.
So
He knows his shit for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, go on.
Opeth, Blackwater Park. This is one that I kind of like missed over, but I was obsessed with this album. This is Opeth's my personal favorite. This is one of the most beautiful albums I've ever heard. It's heavy. It's
The cover's
beautiful.
awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like listening to it.
Yeah.
I guess you would say melodic death metal, I guess, because it has those elements, but it also has this element of just beauty to it. It's one of the most beautiful, heavy albums I've ever listened to in my life. And I even bought the Legacy Edition because I just had to have it.
Now, I know you mentioned a bunch of different types, but like melodic, does any of them tell like a story? You know what I mean? Like there's certain rappers I listen to that like they paint me a picture, and that's why I love them so much. Like Biggie was great at that. He could just paint you a world in 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Right,
So,
Symphony X is like that. He'll paint. He talks about a lot of fantasy stuff, and he'll talk about like just a whole fantasy thing. But the one that kind of sticks out to me is Balsagoth. Is this dude has the most epic voice. I don't have any of their albums, but every once in a while I'll go back and listen to him. The dude just like he's reading an epic story, but he's singing it, and it's like the most epic thing I've ever heard in my life. And they actually just recently put out an album, and I haven't heard from them in years. But that's one band definitely paints a picture, tells a story. But have you heard of Dragon Force?
I have actually heard of that.
Yeah. So Dragon Force, they're kind of like that. They talk about like epic shit, like dragons and fighting stuff. So
When I first heard it, I thought it was an anime.
Dude, they sound like an anime.
Do they?
Yeah, that's why they're on my list. They're on the top 10
yeah,
of
yeah.
Dragon Force because they're just silly.
Yeah.
They're incredibly talented, but just silly.
Are they from? They're not like from Japan or anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
I forgot where they're from. They're from Europe somewhere, I think. Oh, fucking! That's why I brought out so many CDs. Fucking Bolt Thrower.
You mentioned Bolt Thrower to me a couple different times.
Bolt Thrower is hands down the best death metal band you can ever listen to. Bolt Thrower.
It's a bold statement, sir.
Oh yeah, I stand by that. They've not put out a bad
I guess
album.
the B stamp of approval, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bolt Thrower is Bolt Thrower. If you haven't listened to Bolt Thrower, then fuck you.
Okay.
If you say you're a metalhead, I guess I could say.
Right.
So I had to bring those guys out. You've heard of Death?
I've heard of the word.
I don't know. I always figured Death is one of those bands because they're pioneers of the death metal.
That's a cool.
Yeah, this is my personal favorite. I realize. Yeah. I realize a lot of people have their own favorite death album Leprosy or whatever, what have you. But this is my personal favorite, The Sound of Perseverance. And one of the reasons is I came across this song when I was really, really young, Spirit Crusher. And it just blew me away how amazing it was. So I went and listened to this whole album, and the whole album just blows me away, and I love it so much. Like, I like their other albums, but this is my favorite Death album.
Gotcha.
My Sleeping Karma is, I guess you could call it like space rock, but I kind of lump it in with stoner metal. It's stuff you meditate to. It's like meditation music, but with guitars and drum.
Right.
Just stuff to just meditate to. It's really chill, really, really out there. Psychedelic.
Gotcha.
Another pioneer, or just not pioneer, but someone that's really like helped develop the stoner metal genre is The Sword. This is Age of Winters, which is my personal favorite by them. I think it just like sounds the best.
The cover's kind of got like a Lord of the Rings type of deal.
Right. Yeah.
Hobbit type of deal.
When I first got into like stoner metal, I came across The Sword, and I just love their guitar playing. Like, some people hate them, some people love them. I happen to love them. So, and speaking of how much I love.
Yeah, I did see the vinyls over here.
Yeah, I have a few vinyls, and I'll bust some of them out. But I figured I would go ahead and show how much I love this album is.
Oh
shoot! I love this album so much that I actually bought it on vinyl. To have it on vinyl. So
they say vinyl sounds better.
Yeah. So there's some of my vinyl. I don't have a lot of vinyl.
My sister collects vinyls.
Does she?
Well, when I can get them for a good price.
Some people are really into it. I like vinyls. I don't have really the time to like just sit down and listen to vinyls because I really feel like it's an experience.
Yeah.
I like to put on headphones, turn out the lights, shut my eyes, and just kind of really absorb the music. But the funny thing about vinyls, I think I've bought myself maybe 2 of them. Yeah. All the rest of them are gifts from people that really know me. So we'll get to those when we're done with the CDs. It's a good way to
personally give you something you like.
Right. Mastodon, I'm sure you said you heard it. I like this album so much, I bought it again.
Nice. So nice, I bought it twice.
Crack the Sky. Doesn't get much better than that. I don't know why I brought this one out. This is one of those bands that I want to be into so bad, but I just, like, they don't rub me the right way in my ears. It's Periphery. And I have a few Periphery albums because I keep trying to get into them, but there's something about their sound that just I don't connect with. Not saying they're bad, they're just not my cup of tea. But if you want to get into, like, progressive, and we're going to talk about another genre, people say it's not an actual genre. They say it's just a noise. But I feel like that's how you separate genres, is like the sounds that they're producing. And gent is a newer genre in the last like 10 years or so that's kind of surfaced. And what it is it's onomatopoeia. Gent, 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 gent. That's kind of what their sound is like. So Periphery pioneered that sound. Fucking Bulb, was the main guy that, made that sound. So they've gotten really popular, but I don't know why. I just can't seem to get into these guys as much as I would like to, but...
Yeah, big time?
Pretty big. The guitarist started making pedals. He's starting to do, like, a side hustle with, like, guitar gear and stuff. Mm-hmm. The dude knows what he's doing. He's, like, a genius when it comes to the, like, specifics of that kind of stuff. Like, the technical version of, like, guitars and pedals and stuff like that. Dude's genius.
Science of it.
Yeah. So Periphery, check them out. But speaking of gent, I did come across one band that I absolutely love. I don't know how to say their name. I have never been able to. You want to give it a shot?
I do, actually. Well, that's a nightmare to me. Viljarta? Viljarta? That's what I got. Maybe I'm wrong.
I just say Vildaharta. But anyway, this album is like genty, but it's a fucking masterpiece from front to back. My brother actually bought me this album because I love it so much. It's the only gent album that I love. I really don't care about the genre too much, but this album is a fucking masterpiece, so there's that.
You said that word a couple times, genta?
Gent.
Oh, gent.
D-J-E-N-T.
Gent.
Yeah. Gent.
D silent.
Yeah, because that's what the noise of the guitar sounds like when they're playing. Like jin.
Oh yeah.
That's why I say it's an onomatopoeia.
Okay.
My mother-in-law bought me this. It's a monomarth. Have you heard of a monomarth?
I have not.
They're pretty big. They're death metal, melodic death metal, but they sing about Vikings. That's all they sing about. Just Vikings going to war.
Didn't you tell me about a metal band that only does Arnold Schwarzenegger movies? Didn't you
That
tell me
was
about
the singer of As I Lay Dying did a side project where he just did Arnold impressions.
That's awesome.
Oh, what is it called? The Austrian Death Machine.
Oh yeah. That was it. When you told me that, I thought that was funny.
I used to have those albums, but it's one of the ones that I lost in the mishap. I haven't rebought them, but God, I'll probably buy them for you just for a good time so you can listen to. That'll be your gateway into metal, is the Austrian Death Machine.
Well, that's a pretty crazy name right there.
Yeah, they're pretty great projects. Like, he did a good job with them.
So he did more than one album?
I think he did 2. I want to say he did at least 2.
Well, he must have really liked it.
I guess so. But
Are they good? Are they like good, spot on? Or
it actually is
like...
pretty good to listen to. Like, it's funny as hell, but the dude does a good job at like making the music sound good. Like, it's not just a one big joke. It's actually good music. It's kind of like Metalocalypse. Like, it's a joke, but it sounds good.
It's still good music.
But Amon Amarth, like, I like these guys, but like, it's, to me, they're one of the bands you can pick up any of their albums and you'll love all their albums. It kind of like their sound doesn't change much.
Right.
So I have the one album, I listen to it, and I'm good. So Monomarth, good solid metal band. If you're wanting to get
into it. It's kind of how I feel about like Disturbed. Like, Disturbed always has like 3 or 4 good songs on it. Not trying to say they're metal by any means, folks. Don't tear my head off.
No,
I do like Disturbed.
I just can't stand Disturbed. It's just my personal opinion.
I used to work with a guy that looked just like their lead singer.
Did you?
He really did.
I mean, you really just have to shave your head and put in some piercings.
Dude, just right here alone, he could have pulled it off.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I just took a shot. Yeah, they thought it was him.
Nice. Maybe it was a cover band. He started a Disturbed cover band. Just tricking the people. I'm sure his vocals won't
He said he used to walk around places like Busch Gardens, and like when people would be like, he would like take pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And cool. Yeah, they probably felt like an ass when they got home and they got to looking at it. Like, it's not him. It's not him.
That's some shit I would do. So metal takes you into so many different genres. This is one that's very special to me, is avant-garde metal. Diablo Swing Orchestra. I don't know anybody else that listens to this band. This is one of those, like, it's my baby. I try to get other people into it, but nobody's into it. So avant-garde is just off the wall, just taking everything, putting it in a pot, and coming out with something new. And that's what this is they're, to their core, they're metal, but they take opera, they take swing, they take, like, some parts mariachi. They take all these genres of music and just kind of put them in a blender, and they come out with this silly, amazing music, and I love it so much. So they're just a fun little band.
That's cool. Something different.
Yeah. So I don't know how to gauge this band on their popularity, because they sell out and they're huge, but whenever I talk to people that don't listen to metal, don't know who they are. And the people that are into metal know who they are, and they kind of hate them. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle. But Ghost, everyone, you probably know Ghost. If you don't, they take old school rock, put their own little spin on it, and just come out with this. I don't like everything they've done, but this album is one of those masterpiece albums I can listen to front to back and love it.
So all their songs are redid songs?
No. They take that like sound, that old rock. They take that old school rock sound, but kind of modernize it and put their own spin on it. It's hard to explain, but they do a really good job at it. Like, they're not metal, but they're kind of that blending of the two. Right. They can be heavy, but it's mostly rock.
Gotcha.
But the reason I brought this one out is because how much I like that album is, again, I bought the vinyl of this album because I like it so much. So, and if you hate Ghosts, well, that's too bad. I like them.
That's what it's all about. Yeah,
that's the thing, is I don't know a lot of people that listen to metal, so I kind of just stay in my room and listen to what I like.
I've always because I've been to concerts here and there, and like you'll notice like real metalheads, they're very tight knit
Yeah, they are. Like I have I can count on two hands all my metalhead friends, and just we've been close for years. Like I said, Mick and I have known each other since high school.
That was just funny. I was just thinking of Mick. Mick is always posting about metal, and
yeah, he's one of my longest running friends, and metal's the one thing. Metal and movies, it just keeps us connected. So
yeah, we
it's
love
a
the
really
movies
great.
over here, don't we?
Yeah. And of course Deftones. Everyone knows Deftones.
Everybody knows the Deftones. Even I know the Deftones.
Yeah. Most people, White Pony is their favorite album, but this one is the one that kind of really, it's their self-titled album, but it really it resonates with me. I feel like his vocals are just so raw. Just everything about this is what I want Deftones to sound like. Just the rawness of it. Like, I like White Pony, but I love this self-titled album so much. I actually want to get this tattooed on me too.
First time I ever heard Deftones was when I was watching a Dragon Ball Z movie, the straight to video. It was Lord Slug. I don't know if anybody knows that one, but I was a big GBZ fan.
Yeah.
GBZ fan, and the whole soundtrack was done by Disturbed and the Deftones.
Oh yeah.
And obviously, I was a huge Disturbed fan when they came out, so I knew all their songs when they come on. But
right.
The Deftones ones caught me off guard at how much I liked them. I didn't know, and then that's how I found out who they were.
Yeah, this is they're considered nu metal, and I listened to White Pony in high school because that's what everyone was listening to. I'm like, it's okay, like it's good, but it's not like my favorite thing. Yeah. And then literally the past 10 years or so, I came across this album. And this is the one I connected with.
Is the White Pony, is that more like their biggest
that's their
album? Like that's, if you had to say it was mainstream, like that's the one that people know.
Absolutely.
Average fans even know. Like,
yep.
Yeah. Like ICP's got the Great Malenko. Like even if you've never heard of ICP, you know the Great Malenko.
Exactly. Yeah, okay. That's White Pony.
I got you.
I don't have their album because I lost it and I haven't rebought it. I just go on to Spotify and listen to it. But it's one of my favorite albums. Actually, my back tattoo is dedicated to this band. So it's fucking Chimera, the Dehumanizing Process DVD. Impossibility of Reason is one of the albums that I listened to in high school obsessively. Loved it so much I seen them live. Wow. I bought their t-shirt at their concert, which I don't have anymore. R.I.P. But I still have this, and I actually watch this on a somewhat regular basis. Like once every 2 years, I'll put this on. It's the making of The Impossibility of Reason. The Impossibility of Reason. Yep, it's them in the studio just bullshitting around. It's one of the best making of documentaries that I've ever seen in my life. So, I don't know. I love these guys. I love that album, and I love this DVD. So this means a lot to me. I've had it for years and years and years, and it still works. So. Yeah. So there's that. I brought this out because there's a funny story. I don't really care for Byzantine. They're just not my favorite cup of tea. But I got this for free. You want to know how? Yeah. I entered into a cover art contest for this band. You were supposed to come up with a cover. Mm. And I came up with mine. It was a sword. It had the gritty background. It had their name. It was pretty simplistic, but I was pretty in love with it. I got in 3rd or 2nd place. I don't remember. I got pretty up there. Right. And since I got that high, they sent me this album, a signed poster, and everything like that. But I'm still kind of butthurt that I didn't win.
Well, yeah. I mean, so obviously, because yours would have been immortalized as an album cover. But,
right. So I've been kind of butthurt, but I've kept the album because
that's cool. They still gave you that, though.
Yeah, they still gave me a CD.
Could try sport, you know.
The album. I think I still have the signed poster somewhere. So
that's awesome.
It was a good effort, but I'm still kind of butthurt.
How many people didn't even get to the top 3?
I know, right?
You gotta take pride in that. Man.
Yeah. So.
It's probably what they tell the people that lose American Idol.
Because that's what I always wanted to. That's what I always wanted to do was do art cover for bands, but that kind of killed it for me. I guess we'll do some of my vinyls. This is getting pretty long. This is getting pretty long. Oh well, I'll edit it down. So, I'll start with one of my favorite albums of all time, and all these albums kind of have something special to them, but this one in particular, fucking Decapitated Winds of Creation. Pull out the big guns first. This is hands down one of my favorite albums of all time. This is technical death metal. These guys were not even legal drinking age in America when they came up with this album. And it's fucking mind-blowing if you listen to it. Yeah. Just the sheer amount of talent that come out of these guys. funny story about this vinyl though is I didn't know my wife's mother-in-law was gonna buy me a record player, and she wanted to get me an album to go with it. My wife did. So she was texting me one day. She's like, "Hey, I was talking to a guy about metal and told him you were into it. What was your favorite metal album?" And I was like, "Decapitated Winds of Creation." Like, there was no hesitation. Next thing I know, I get this in the mail, and I was like, "What?" And then I get the record player, and the rest is history. But just
made sense then, huh?
hands down, just the best album of all time. This is top tier metal.
It's crazy. All their hair is the same. Like, I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Like,
I fucking love Decapitated. So yeah, there's that. My brother recently bought me this because the Black Keys.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, they're not metal, they're indie blues, I guess you could call. But whenever I was getting into my blues phase, I came across these guys, and they have some of the best guitar tones I've ever heard in my life. Like, these guys can like put it down, just good blues.
It's just the two of them?
Yep, just good blues music. Just
That's a great movie. You ever seen that movie, High Fidelity?
No.
It's a good movie. You should watch it. You'd be into it.
Probably would.
I think I have it on the list.
Yeah.
I'll let you borrow it.
But nothing special to say. Just my brother bought me this because he knew I was into them, and I think this is their first album, so it's really raw, but good stuff.
Cool.
Fucking my mother-in-law bought me this too, which I was like stoked about. She bought it for me for Christmas one year, and I was just head over heels. Bell Witch, Mirror Reaper. I was talking about Funeral Doom. This is the best Funeral Doom in my personal opinion. Again, it's just one long song.
Yeah.
But it's just so great. I don't even know how to explain it, but the guy that did the artwork is probably one of my new favorite artists.
That's really cool.
I want to get this. They have a flag of it, and I want to get it really, really bad because I love this artwork so much.
That is cool.
But this is top tier Funeral Doom. Getting this was the best thing ever. I love this album.
Even the subgenre, even the names of the subgenre could be a bad name.
Yeah.
Funeral Doom, like I would go see that. You know what I mean?
I'm surprised it's not a band that's Funeral Doom.
Right,
There probably is.
like,
Who knows? This another one, Beast Milk Climax. This is their only album.
Beast milk, that's all you drink, dog.
Yeah.
You're the beast.
Right. So this is more like goth rock that blurs the lines between metal and rock, but this is a fucking masterpiece of an album.
It's a cool album cover too. It's
Yeah.
kind of like Nip Tuck or something.
Yeah, it's what's funny is like I knew about this album years and years ago when it first came out, but I never listened to it for some reason.
Right.
But I saw it on my friend's page and I decided to give it a listen. I was like, what have I been missing my whole life? I obsessively listened to this for a month straight. Like nothing else played in my car, in my headphones, besides this album. It's, like I said, it's a fucking masterpiece. It's goth rock, but the best that's ever been done, in my opinion. So, yeah, I had to get it on vinyl.
That's cool.
I
love that movie.
So I have two of these. Funny story. I love Guardians of the Galaxy, and I love the soundtrack too. I think it was really...
Such a good mixture of music.
It was a unique way of doing it. So my brother and my wife bought me the same record at the same time. And I was just like, I love them both.
Some
So
people that know you very well.
yeah, I can't get rid of them because one is...
You always need a backup copy, bro.
Exactly. So I have two of them. I love them. I'm glad that I have two. They're both from very special people.
That is nice.
Do you know Primus?
I do know Primus. I've seen Primus live.
Jealous, I actually have not. But this is Sailing in the Sea of Cheese, which is my personal favorite. It has Tommy the Cat, which is their best song of all time. Because I was getting into bass. I was learning how to play the bass guitar.
I can play the shit out of the bass.
Right. So, and I'm like, what songs to learn on bass? And Primus would come up, so...
What's his name? Les Claypool?
Les Claypool.
Yeah, that man can play.
Yeah, so I looked up the song, and then I heard Tommy the Cat, and I was like, this is the craziest, great song I've ever heard, and I've just been in love with them ever since, so... My wife bought this for me because she knows how much I love it, but
right.
It's pretty great.
That is cool.
We're not going to get to this yet.
Yeah?
Again, into my stoner metal phase, I came across this stoner rock, stoner metal, Fu Manchu. These guys have some of the best guitar tones I've ever heard. Just the fuzz is out of this world. What's the name of the song?
That's an awesome name for a band, Fu Manchu.
All right. Just this whole song, Modular Overload, that's the song. Just has the craziest guitar tone I've ever heard in my life. And the riff it has a really cool riff too. So I wanted to get this album in particular. They're just a fun, throwback to like 70s. And we're gonna get into another subgenre, slam, brutal death metal.
Slam, brutal death metal.
Yeah, this band is kind of a mixture of two, but I would say slam metal. It's just in your face, just guttural, pig squeals and just brutalness. Cerebral Bore is the name of the band if you can't read it.
I was wondering. It's giving my eyes fits trying to read it.
But the singer of this band is a chick.
Really?
Yeah, and she has bigger balls than you and me both put together.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I could play this right now just to let you listen to it. But this girl can sing better than most of these men here.
Really?
She's fucking crazy. And my brother bought me this album because just why not have it? Because it's just incredible. This girl, one of the best singers of all time, but Cerebral Bore, slam metal. And then we're going to come across my hands down favorite album of all time. And it's not even metal.
Yeah?
Yeah. Fucking Mr. Bungle. I love, love, love that my mom bought me this. So, I don't even know where to start. This album came out in 1991. If you listen to it right now, it could have came out yesterday and you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference production-wise. It's my favorite album. It's avant-garde. It has a little bit of metal thrown into it, but it's just insanity. Like,
that's the name of the band, Mr. Bungle?
Mr. Bungle. This is their self-titled album.
Right, that's what I figured.
But this band is just absolutely insane.
Are they still together?
No, they broke up. I heard they're doing a reunion tour, but it's only in certain parts, and I wanted to go to it before this Corona shit, but
yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not gonna be. They kind of canceled all tours, but this has been with me since I was 15 years old. I'm about to be 34, and I still listen to this album regularly. I've been listening to it for that long. That's how much I love this album. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't have a lot of vinyls come with like special prints, and I don't really have special prints besides one that I'll show you in a second, but Mr. Bungle came with a clear print, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
But hands down my favorite album.
Is that like more rare or something when they do it? Or just...
No, just a special print.
Gotcha.
Just personal preference.
Oh, I see what you were doing. You were saving the best for last. That's what you was doing.
This isn't mine.
No, it's not.
This is not mine. This is Sublime.
Greatness.
My mother-in-law bought it for my wife, and
good taste, that woman.
I was like, I don't want to keep this in my collection, but
that's such a good band.
It's my wife, so
it's not. I'm not saying it's metal by any means. We both know that.
It's barely music.
What? Calm down. Calm down now. There's a lot of stuff out there that you could maybe make the argument for. It's not considered music. These guys used instruments and they sang. That's music all day.
I hate Sublime, so we'll just toss that. But I have it in my thing. My brother bought me this when he bought me that Black Keys album. I haven't listened to this, but it's in like a case just because it's fucking cool as shit. It's a fucking print.
I love that movie. Yeah.
It's a print of the Spider-Man. The
poster, the theatrical poster.
Yeah, it's just cool as shit. And yeah, I just wanted to show that
off. Is it the soundtrack from the movie?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that is cool.
And it's a really cool print, and I don't want to mess the print up, so I want to keep it in here as long as possible.
Yeah, why would you? Yeah.
Because it's just cool as fuck.
You go buy that on CD or streaming or something.
Yeah. And to show that I'm not a complete metalhead monster and I do like other music, I decided to pull out a couple of my favorites. Donald Glover.
Oh, Childish Gambino.
Childish Gambino.
The man can rap. He's a man of many, many talents, that guy.
And I do love his rap, but this album is incredible. Like, just musician. Somebody that's not firsthand a musician put this together. Like, it's just incredible. I love this album so much.
I love that show Atlanta he does. It's amazing.
Yeah, I need to watch more of it.
Oh yeah, I was hoping you were gonna have her.
Yes.
We both have a very big affection for Adele.
So Adele is one of the most beautiful, has one of the most beautiful voices in the world, and I cannot. I have 25, and I want to get 21 on vinyl just so I can hear her crisp voice.
Yeah.
But people shit on this album, but I think it's good. Like, it's a good album. 25, she's crazy.
Those people are bastards.
She's crazy good singer. Like, she's amazing. So I had to pull that out to show.
Yeah.
I have some other taste in
her voice. Almost brings me to tears.
It does though. And then your favorite movie, right? Yeah. Drive?
Yeah. Yeah, Drive. Yeah, where it takes not place in a car at all.
So I love the soundtrack of this movie so much. I had to buy it because I want, every once in a while, I just want to listen to these songs. It's 80s synth metal, but I fucking love the soundtrack to this movie. Just alone, if you don't like the movie, just pick up the soundtrack because it's incredible.
It's one of those rare times where the soundtrack was twice as good as the movie.
No, this movie is incredible, and you're missing out on a masterpiece.
First of all, Mr. Mickey Mouse, Ryan Gosling.
And then I guess we'll end this on a high note, but the two greatest musical artists of
I have
all
this
time.
album. I love Thriller.
Yeah, it's his best, in my opinion.
I keep it in my car.
Yeah. Prince and Michael Jackson. I can't pick one. I was gonna pick one. I was like, I gotta pick Prince, and it's like, I can't leave Michael Jackson. But these two are just like, I like to joke around that Prince is better than Michael Jackson, but really they're both on the same level. They're both amazing, and I bought the very best of Prince because it has all my favorite songs.
I was gonna say, to me, I feel like the biggest difference between Prince and Michael Jackson is really what kind of music you're into. Because Michael Jackson's gonna give you that feel good little, what's on the radio, straight R&B. Prince was very experimental. He did all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, he does some crazy ass music, and I love it so much. Like, I love 1999, but there's so many other songs that he did that I love, and that puts it all on this album, and I love it so much.
Love it.
God, he was a treasure.
Yeah, he really was. Both of them were.
Yeah.
Musically, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But
since we have them, do you want to talk about the two guitars? I could throw that in there.
Yes. Fun fact, ladies and gentlemen, Jimi Hendrix actually played both of these guitars.
Yeah, that's not true at all.
We're not going to tell you how much they cost, but let me tell you something. My man's missing a kidney.
I wish that were true.
So what? I mean, obviously they're guitars, but is there any kind of
there's sentimental guitars.
Right.
So I bought an Ibanez. I'm a metalhead. I have to have an Ibanez because that's the guitar of the metal people. But a funny story about the white Ibanez is I knew a guy back in the day, and every year he would buy a new guitar, a new expensive guitar, over $1,000, and then he would sell it 6 months later. He did this year after year, and it drove me crazy, but whatever, that's his prerogative. But he did come across this one guitar. It was a white Ibanez. It was like over $1,000. It was the most beautiful guitar I've ever seen in my life, and I just would watch him play it. Like, he was a fine guitarist, but just the sound of the guitar just made me want to cry.
Made him better.
Yeah, exactly. I was in love with the guitar, and I didn't even play guitar. I was just like infatuated by it.
Right.
So I started to get into guitar playing and everything, and I kept saying white Ibanez to my wife so much that she's like, order your fucking white Ibanez so I don't ever have to hear white Ibanez ever again. So I ordered a cheap one. It's
That's a tongue twister. Ibanez.
Yeah. So this one's just a cheap, Geo Ibanez. It's a 7-string, and I don't really play it that much, but I just love having it. It's my most expensive decoration that I have. So that's the story behind it. My wife basically got it for me because I just wanted a white Ibanez.
Well, it's not as cool as Jimi Hendrix playing it, but still a good story.
Yeah.
Still a good story.
This
one's pretty cool.
There's not a cool story behind this guitar, except, like you were saying, I'm into the music production thing, and me and you have been, like, throwing around the idea of, like, starting a rap, whatever, and I was going to make the beats. Yeah. And my wife was like, I was going to buy you a beat pad, go ahead and pick one out. So I bought a beat pad, and it wasn't compatible with my system, so I had to take it back. She's like, well, just get one that works. And as we walked into the guitar store to return it, this caught my eye. And I was like, what if we don't get the beat pad and I get a new guitar? She's like, Greg, you have so many guitars. Do you need another one? I'm like, not really. But a cool story behind why I picked this one specifically is we talked about Gary Clark Jr. before.
Mhm.
He plays a Epiphone Casino. It's a blue guitar. It's probably the most beautiful guitar I've ever seen in my life. But I don't like Epiphone. I've had one. They just don't feel good to me. So I didn't want to get that one. And Gibson is way too expensive. But this one's a Gretsch. So it's a nice middle road of the two. And I played this guitar in the store and it just felt amazing and it's too good for me. But it's just my prized possession and I love this guitar.
They're both beautiful.
Yeah, so I have my old man guitar and I have a metal guitar and I have a couple of others, so.
Right. Well,
But-
that's cool.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I said, I'm a fan of rock and metal and stuff like that, but it's just casual, and I don't know the difference between this one to that one to anyone, but
Yeah.
it is cool, the different designs and everything.
Yeah, when I was getting into blues and metal, I've always wanted like a open face guitar, so
Gotcha.
there it is. And
That's
it's
cool.
and my wife bought me that too, so she indulges me in all my
I like the way
obsessions.
I like the way the neck of it goes up and changes.
Yeah.
It's like that's a cool design.
Yeah, I love everything about this guitar. But there's, you know, like besides my sentimental, there's nothing special about it. I
Right.
guess it's not like one of a kind or anything.
Well, that's the beauty of your collection, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to do this. And
Right.
that's why going forward, you know, when we do more episodes, you know, we'll
Mhm.
be doing that and getting into people's lives and seeing what they're into. You know,
Yeah,
because,
they probably won't see as much as me because I'll be running the camera, but
Right. But I was very excited. We've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yep.
And it was good to get our feet into it and
Yep.
to get going. Yeah, obviously, when we go to do other people, we'll be walking through their home and they'll be showing me things that
Yep.
you know they want to show and stuff like that. Greg will still be here. You know, he'll be doing the production. Great as always, as he usually is. So,
Mhm.
I'm part of the collector. I hope y'all really enjoyed it. We love the feedback. You know, some comments. I'll be sending this out on my YouTube channel as soon as Greg gets done editing and working his magic touch on it like he does. And I appreciate you telling me about your collection, man. I learned a lot today, and I learned that I know almost nothing about metal.
it's, even today, still don't know anything.
I mean, yeah,
You're just a little bit more wiser.
little bit less dumb about it, I suppose. But it's really fascinating to me just how much different types of music there are
Yeah.
and subgenres of certain music.
Yeah.
And
It's a pretty deep rabbit hole.
that was really cool, man, and it was definitely a perspective I did not have before now. So
Oh yeah, I'm excited to the next episode. We want to do one of your collections.
yeah, we're gonna go through the park cave, man. I'm gonna
Yeah.
show y'all the vault, show y'all the stuff I put in my halls, and
Yep.
what really makes me tick, man.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because you have a lot more stuff than I do.
Yeah, it's a little expansive. It's gonna be a long episode for sure, but I'm really excited, and I'm really excited to show everybody what I do this. Like,
Yep.
what makes the par tick, you know.
Yep.
But I'm part of the collector. This is the Beast, or you know, where are you going?
GD
with?
Beast.
GD Beast, man.
It's just Greg. I'll just go with Greg.
Greg.
Yeah.
Also, man, give yourself a shout out, Durance Design, man.
Yeah.
You do great work, man.
Nihiltic Design, Greg Durance Design. I haven't decided which way I want to go, but I do graphic design. A lot of the graphics you see on his channel and the stuff that I do myself.
Yeah, he actually did the part of the collector logo and did all of them for our podcast.
Yeah, so that's one of my other loves. I don't know how to show that off, but you can see it. Just type in Nihiltic Production or Nihiltic Design and you'll come across it.
Both on Instagram.
Yep.
But yeah, man.
Till next time.
Later.